What up, Laker Nation? You're here with your host Kareem. How you guys doing on this lovely Monday evening, Monday night? Uh, I want to get into talk about some the GMs around the league, the mistakes they constantly making. This Thursday, the NBA trade deadline, you're going to see a lot of mind-blowing trades that don't make any sense. You're going to also probably see some buyouts that got rid of bad contracts that maybe shouldn't have been signed in the first place. But I'm gonna break down. The conversation sparked me to do this video because World Wide West. I don't know if you guys familiar with World Wide West. He's been around the NBA for a long time. He he cool with a lot of NBA players, and a lot of NBA players respect him, especially the high-ranking NBA players like LeBron and Chris Paul and a few other big guys that's in the NBA. But he actually worked for the Knicks now. Now I tip my hat off to him. It was a smart move. He pressed the Knicks when the Knicks had their pick this year in the draft. He pressed them to pick Emmanuel quickly. I forgot who they said the Knicks was looking at, but it was more of like a role player, a guy who was like maxed out on his potential, and he begged them to take quickly. And so far, it looking good. I've seen guys have good start to careers, then they career flame, but so far, quickly looking good. I think he's gonna be around in the league for a while. He got a great work ethics, so I think he's gonna be all right. But Thibodeau and Leon Rose. Thibodeau is the Knicks coach, and Leon Rose is the VP for the Knicks. They want to go in another direction. But this, why a lot of organizations, I said, get in trouble. Now, also, Thibodeau wanted to sign Bogdanovich, and he wanted to sign Gordon Hayward with all the cap space the Knicks had this summer. But the Knicks elected not to do that, not to interfere with the cap space on guys who like second or third tier NBA players, really like third tier if you ask me. Um, so I think that was a smart move, and I think that you have to have a clear understanding and a clear vision of what you want to do with your organization. It can't be in between. And I think so far that was smarter than Knicks exactly what they did. They stood their ground and did not make no bonehead decisions. They signed a bunch of one-year contracts and see what they had on the floor, and they rolled with it. So that's so far. Even though Knicks made tons of bonehead decisions throughout, their history, but they showing a little, you know, pretty much, brains by making some smart move far as like not jumping the gun with certain signings and certain trades. But then on the other hand, like for instance, like people talk about Lonzo Ball, right? Lonzo is a player that when I saw him, and you guys probably could check the videos, everything I said about him, I did not want the Lakers to take Lonzo. But once he got on the Lakers, I start looking at him closely, and I start liking him. But he still didn't have that aggressiveness that I like as a point guard that you need. And I was saying that it's gonna take him some time, and he need Lonzo type of guy. He need like the perfect coach. He's not a player that he could just go in any NBA system and he's gonna be a killer. Lonzo need a certain type of coach. He need a certain type of coach, certain type of environment in order to succeed. And that's why I think a guy like Mark Jackson, I always said, I think would have been an excellent coach for Lonzo because he a motivator and he played that position. I think Jason Kidd would have been a good coach for Lonzo. Lonzo is not, like I said, he's not that type of guy. You can just throw him in a system and he's gonna flourish. So the Lakers picked Lonzo Ball. Like I said, I wasn't happy with the pick. Many of y'all know that. But I started seeing a lot of good qualities he did have. But these GMs time and time again make plenty of mistakes, and I just want to highlight something. Now, if you Philadelphia and the Lakers, it's plenty of GMs, the history, but I'm just going to say this: Philadelphia and the Lakers, if they would have made smart moves, like common sense, anybody can make a mistake. That's why I don't go too hard on drafts sometimes. Not too hard on the draft because the draft is hit or miss. You really don't know what you're getting at times. Some is obvious who you should have picked, some not. But I'm just saying, clear as day moves. If the Lakers in Philadelphia would have been made some good moves, let's say, let's date back to let's say 2013, leading up to today, they both would have been super duper powerhouse in the NBA. It'd have been the Lakers and Philadelphia, clearly the best two teams in the NBA. I'm gonna break down Philadelphia, right? Philadelphia, they have in common some what the Lakers had in common, but I think Philadelphia is worse situation. Philadelphia has so many guys in the top of the draft that they got nothing in return for them, and it is like a waste of pick and waste of asset. And when you doing these drafts, it's three components in the draft. You have talented players, you have raw players, and you have projects. And how you draft on top of the draft, let's say the first 5 picks, if I'm a GM, I'm automatically staying away from projects. I'm staying away from projects. You got to stay away from projects. Raw, I really may stay away from raw. It depends. I have to really know the ins and outs of the player. But talented players, yes. Now I'm gonna break that down for you guys. Now I'm gonna go with project. When they say somebody a project is someone who really don't have. It's like you starting from scratch with a player. A project is someone like Hassan to be, who Memphis picked with the second pick, which was stupid. Like I said, you don't pick projects because you building a guy from scratch because he tall. Mostly it'd be 7-footers, big men. That's projects. You don't really see too many wing players or anything projects. It's mostly the big men, Taco Falls and guys like that. And throughout the past, you had a lot of like guys who was just tall, and it's projects. You basically building them from the ground up. Players that's raw is a player that you may see they got a ways to go, but you may see some ability in they still may have some type of untapped potential. You see something, but they raw. They may do things because they super duper athletic, or for the most part, they just get done because they hustle and relentless. They may produce in that way. So a player who I would consider raw is guys like Montrezl Harrell coming out in the NBA. Montrezl Harrell was in Louisville. He was raw. He was raw. He wasn't you consider a player that's talented. He had a lot of heart. He was aggressive, and he got a lot of points to put back, aggressive dunks. He was raw, right? Then you have players that's talented. Now, a player that's talented is a guy who has all-world talent, and you can see it. A talented player is more of the safe pick. And let's say, for instance, a guy like Julius Randle. He was in Kentucky. He had the handle and everything. At his size, he could do a lot of different things. Like him, Chris Webber, Billy Owens. I went back a little, but I'm just saying. them guys who just talented, could do a lot of different things. So you have those three components right there. So the way you draft is, and it also depends on your team. It also depends on your team, and sometimes teams get caught in the trick bag. They don't look deep into a situation, and they just feel they have it like that. Now I'm gonna say that to Detroit Pistons. Now Detroit Pistons should have clearly took Carmelo Anthony. It was no reason not to, right? Because at the time you draft Carmelo, you should already look. You got some guys already in they prime. Guys like Chauncey Billups, Richard Hamilton, Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace. Tayshaun Prince was like the youngest player out of them. So you go with a sure thing. You cannot blow with the second pick. Everybody in their mother knew Carmelo Anthony was going to be good. You cannot take a chance. See what Detroit Pistons did. They felt they could get away with a pick, where they could it didn't matter. They felt they was the best team in the NBA, so they didn't really need Melo, so they took a chance on a player that was raw. Now, Darko Milicic was raw. He wasn't, I ain't going to say he's a project. He was raw. But you don't take a chance with that high of a pick, especially when you got guys who got superstar written all over them, which Carmelo had, and to me personally, I seen it in Dwayne Wade. And Chris Bosh was good. Like, some guys, you seen it. Like, leading up to the draft, if I was doing blogs then, you guys would have got my opinion on them guys there. I was a big D-Wade fan when I saw him in Marquette. But Melo, I knew Melo was the shit. Knew Melo was the shit. So that's when the team thinking they got it like that. Make stupid decisions like that. Right? So now, Philadelphia, look at the guys they had on their team. And, okay, that starting 2013, they had got Nerlens Noel. He was raw. They drafted him, high energy, high motor. He athletic. He could do a lot of different things, right? They really got nothing in return for him, right? You drafted Joel Embiid, Okafor. You got nothing in return for him. You drafted Ben Simmons was good. You got nothing in return for Markel Fultz. Even a guy like Rashard Holmes. Rashard Holmes played good for Philadelphia. He was a good player for Philadelphia. And Philadelphia at the time wasn't a playoff team. But he played good for them. And my thing, why I said was stupid, you're not a playoff team. And you got rid of him for cash. Philadelphia got rid of Rashard Holmes for cash. And it's not like you was a high-level championship team and you need to get under the salary cap, so you did that for cash. You did it for no reason. You had a low payroll. You wasn't a playoff team at the time. So that's why I said you just gave away an asset. So Philadelphia did a real bad job with assets. So now another thing. That's why I said that's backwards. Now you wasn't this. Let me tell you how Philadelphia backwards. You wasn't a playoff team, and you had a young player, Rashard Holmes, who a lot of people liked at the time, and people still liked him. And you giving him for cash. Like I said, you wasn't like you was up for on the tax threshold, anything like that, because you was one of the lowest payroll teams. Y'all was cooking in cash. They ain't have no big salary on y'all books. But you get rid of him for cash, a guy that was productive for you. And like I said, you wasn't a playoff team, not like you were a championship team. Now, look at reverse what they did. Now, you're a playoff team. You're a good team. You drafted Mikael Bridges. You're a good team. Now, Mikael Bridges, now let's break him down. What he doing now is exactly what everyone saw. Mikael Bridges, what I say, every analyst got it right. You know how like you have some guys may say, oh, this guy gonna be a superstar, and some analysts say, no, he not. This guy gonna be this or he not. Mikael Bridges is what everyone said he's gonna be. Everyone said he's gonna be a solid. Everybody knew he was gonna be no superstar, no all star, but everybody said he's gonna be a top of the line guy that's gonna produce on teams, and he's gonna play a hell of a role, and he could be a top of the line big piece on a good team. He'll be a contributor like a Robert Horry, guys like that. You know what I mean? An excellent role player. You know, high level role player. I said it when I seen him play. Everybody said it. So you get that. You're a playoff team already. You're good now. Now you becoming a good team. You got Mikhail Bridges, a guy who everybody's seen it, and he's from Philadelphia. His mother worked for the organization. His mother worked for Philadelphia organization. You draft him, and then you trade him for Zaire Smith, who y'all said is raw. Y'all said is raw, in which nobody never saw anything in him. He's a guard that couldn't shoot, couldn't dribble. All he did have was leaping ability. So you knew, and even when they drafted him, they said the guy's probably like 3 or 4 years away. So if you why draft the guy? Let's just say this: you got Joel B injury history, and now if you good, not knowing anything can happen, then you're in a city that's been losing for the last few years, and now y'all finally got up, and you get rid of a player who can produce for you now to a guy you said is 3 or 4 years away, which didn't make any sense. And you couldn't possibly say you're seeing any superstar in him. I didn't see nothing in this guy. I swear I didn't. If you go back and look at what's special though, he did one like tremendous like dunk, and it was all on, pretty much went viral, and people went crazy over Zaire Smith behind that. But it was nothing like outstanding about him. He didn't have like outstanding size for his position. He didn't have no handle, didn't have no jump shot. He wasn't no like outstanding leader. He was nothing great at nothing, but just jumping. Just a leaper, that's it. He was great at nothing. I know shutdown defender at nothing. So I don't get that move, and you could have got somebody who was going to help you right away. While your team wasn't playing on. I just don't get it. So that was just pure stupid with Philadelphia right there. Now let's just bring it back. Let's say they got good value. I ain't gonna say great. Good value from Markelle Fultz. Good value from Okafor. Good trade value for Nerlens Noel. Let's say Rashard Holmes. Let's just say, all right, I'm scratching. Let's just say they kept Mikhail Bridges. Saying they drafted well, kept Mikhail Bridges. And another thing I almost forgot. They had Jeremy Grant. Him and Rashard Holmes and all them guys was playing good for Philadelphia when they was a playoff team. That's another thing. But the only thing about it, which I still didn't understand that trade, he was solid and he was good. They got Ersan Ilyasova and I think a first round pick. So a first round pick, when you get a first round pick and you drafted this guy in the second round, I guess that ain't too bad. And Ersan Ilyasova was a solid player, so that trade wasn't too bad. So that's why I ain't gonna really put that trade in this conversation. But look at it, I just named like 5 guys that they've got good value for. You can imagine where they've been at right now. And if they'd kept Mikael Bridges. Now to the Lakers. That's why I said DGM. These like obvious. Like a, you could get a guy off the street. I'm not saying stuff that's like somebody said, oh, you should have drafted him over him. Like, for instance, Giannis. Oh, how Giannis go number 15? Oh, he went after a guy who was killing, let's say a Duke player. I'm just throwing a name. I can't remember the play. Let's just say a guy in Duke killing. Player X killing, averaging 20 points in Duke, All American, and let's say he go number 6, and he be a bust. And you got Giannis that got drafted. Well, he got drafted 15, 17, something like that. Oh, how you picked him over him? No, you can understand why they picked the guy from Duke over him. So them things like that, I hate when people bring up some stuff that is not worth it, but some stuff is the obvious. Now with the Lakers really dropped the ball, I say, because when they brought Luke Walton in, number one, they gave Luke Walton, they treated Luke Walton like he was Phil Jackson walking through the door. See, that's the thing with the Lakers go wrong, that sometimes they be loving their former players a little too much, which is good, but sometimes you have to deal with reality. They made it like Luke Walton was the best thing since sliced cheese. Like, he gonna come and turn the franchise around. I'm hearing people like, I think Luke Walton was 34 when he got the Lakers job. I believe he was like 34 when he got the Lakers job. I was hearing people say he gonna be with the Lakers for 20 years, 20, 25 years. People was like, I could see him coaching until he's 60 years. Oh, I'm seeing this. People thought that he's gonna be a long time Laker coach. And I don't know if James Worthy, I can't remember who it was, but people was like, oh, they could pack their bags. The Lakers got their coach for the next 2 decades. You know, I'm seeing this. And they went on what he did for Golden State. And what he did for Golden State ended up backfiring because he going by when he was on the bench, what he saw, and he tried to emulate the Lakers too much like Golden State. You know, he tried to say Russell and Jordan Clarkson like Stephen Clay. Julius Randle would be like the Draymond. And that's why, see, he didn't get the heat like that. But he was one of the main voices that wanted Timothy Moscow. Because he fought the Lakers. Yo, because the Lakers want to call us up, be nice. Okay, you're the coach. We want to bring in a player that you approve since you have to coach them. And he brought in Moscow. Luke Walton fought for Moscow because he was on Golden State bench as assistant coach when Moscow played them in the finals when he's in Cleveland. Moscow been a bum his whole career. He had one decent year in Denver. I think that's the same year he got traded to Cleveland. And that been it. And the Lakers signed this guy. This is why I said, how can you have an organization full of people, basketball people, and nobody put a stop to it? Here it is, this guy, you signed this guy to a 4 year, $64 million. A guy that averaged 2 points a game. Like, I don't get it. Fully guaranteed, no opt-out or nothing. And that's where the Lakers went wrong, because see, and this is why I blame Genie. Anybody, y'all could go back and watch my videos. I was the first person to report this. I got it. Anybody been watching my videos and know that I'm good friends with someone who worked in the NBA. Worked for Adam Silver. And he cool with a lot of NBA players. I told the story a million times. So I be getting some information beforehand. The minute the Lakers signed Luol Deng and Moscow, they signed Moscow on June 30th, and they signed Luol Deng on July 4th, on 4th of July. They signed Luol Deng. And I made a video later that day. And I was pissed off, so I'm not going to be a Laker fan. Then I made a video, I think the next day, said how Genie is crying because Mitch sabotaged it. They did it on purpose. I mean, not Mitch, I'm sorry, Jim Buss. But Mitch played the part in it too. He shouldn't even co-sign that because his name was on it. But see, Jim Buss said that if the Lakers don't go to the second round, he didn't say the playoffs. I think he said the conference finals. He said something. It wasn't even the playoffs. It was some weird stuff. He said if the Lakers don't make it to the conference finals, I'm going to step down. So when the trading started, he couldn't get Whiteside and couldn't get a lot of these free agents that year when they signed Timothy Mozgov. Jim Buss and Mitch Kupchak signed Luol Deng and Mozgov, right? To them ridiculous contract. Luol Deng got 4 years, $72 million. So I came on it and I told you guys that she was mad. She was crying because people around her was telling her what Mitch was doing and this going to set the franchise back. I mean, I'll keep saying Mitch. Jim, her brother, that he knew that he had to step down, so he wanted to give her a hard contract where it could hurt them down the line of even getting better. It's gonna take them longer than expected to get better because you could get better quick with cap space. The Lakers had $70 million in cap space that year. They could have got good like that, but he knew that. He had enough sense to know and the ways tie them salaries up. A team with bad contracts, it's never a good look. So that's what he did. So he tied them up, spent all that money on Deng and Moscow. But where Jeannie Buss go wrong, what she could have did, she could have avoided both of them contracts. And that's what I would have did. See, sometimes people try to be too politically correct and try to be. She sat there and cried when she don't really know much about basketball, but when all the basketball people said a horrible deal, everybody it was right on the wall with what Jim Buss was trying to do. It was obvious. You don't give Luol Deng been bad since he left Chicago. If you Luol Deng every year he got worse every year from the time he left Chicago when they traded him to Cleveland. He got worse every year. And he had a playoff series. He averaged 14 points. He shot like 50-something% from the field. They made it like it was sliced cheese, and he got all this money. So, and another thing the Lakers should have, you could see, coming into the draft, I don't know if you guys remember this, but they were trying to say Luol Deng, a freshman, he coming out, going to the NBA at 19 years old. And people were saying that he was 24 at the time. I can remember like clear as day. So it was like he's 5 years older than he actually are. But Luol Deng was a lovable guy. He went to Duke, Michael Sex, Coach K, them guys there. That stuff got swept under the rug quick. It was someone who close to him. I think somebody went to school with him. And I think they showed a class picture or something. And they were saying that he was 25, not no 19 years old. 24. And they were saying he's not no 19 years old. So that's 5 years older than we actually are. So now, when the Lakers get him, and this is why I said, your organization, this stuff you should know. You should know. If I know this, you should know this. And you shouldn't forgot that. You should not have forgot that if that's the case. So, when he came from Chicago to Cleveland, he declined. He declined that half a year, then he declined 2 years after in Miami. So he basically declined three straight years. So when the Lakers about to sign him, they said, okay, he averaged 14 points, shot 50% in the playoffs, and they went 6 games. And everybody thought that, I don't know. But this guy, they should have saw immediately, hold up, this guy declining every year. Why? Because he's old. That's why. And they kept everybody blaming on Thibodeau burning his players out. Yes, that's true. He burns his players out. But he's older. This guy's 5 years older than what they're saying he is. You know, so right there, you should never give him a 4 year deal. Look how little thing broke down. That goes to show that age, because most people start around 31, 32, like slowing down at the most part. So they should have saw right there. This is evidence of his age. He just start disappearing quick. So like I said, that was a bad move. So now Lakers, just like Philadelphia, they gets rid of D'Angelo Russell and really got nothing in the deal for D'Angelo Russell. Okay, I'm gonna say you got Josh Hart, but Josh Hart, you trade a D'Angelo Russell, a number 2 pick, who was 21 years old at the time, averaging 15.7 assists, showed the courage to take big shots, knock down big shots, and you trade him for a role player. Josh Hart and Mikael Bridges both went to Villanova, and they both, you knew right away. Everybody was saying Josh Hart was going to be a good NBA player, a solid role player on a good team. That was his calling card. You knew that. But you don't trade a number 2 pick that's 21 years old for him, because they got Brook Lopez, but he don't count. He's a free agent. And he wasn't in the Lakers' rebuilding plan. Then you get nothing in return for Julius Randle. So now that's 2 all-star players we saw playing the all-star game. We saw D'Angelo Russell playing the all-star game, not as a Laker, who the Lakers drafted. We saw Julius Randle playing the all-star game, not as a Laker. And he's an all-star, and we got nothing in return from him, and they let him walk in free agency. Now, I'm going to get on that real quick. And I argue with a few people about this. And this with, like I said, the same way how I said Magic was jumping the gun when he was dumping too early. Just the dump. Okay, now you got you got Julius Randle, right? That year he signed with New Orleans, 2 years, $18 million. 2 years, $18 million. And I heard that the Lakers was willing to give him 1 year, I think $12 million. Right? And his agent, Aaron Mintz, I think he counter offered the Lakers and said, we take the 2 years, 22 or $23 million. What his option, with a player option, not a team option. The Lakers pushed for a team option. He said no, a player option. So he ended up taking a little less with New Orleans and get what he wanted, his player option instead of team option. Now, you know what I mean, agent, what he did the right thing. You have to protect your player. In case he had an ACL injury or something, and he don't have to get waived, he's going to get paid. So that made sense for him. Now, this is what I didn't expect about the Lakers. If, that's what I said, Julius Randle been getting better. He had been getting better every year. Every year. Let's say $11 million, because I think it was $22 million, 2 years, $22 million. Now, at $11 million, you had a guy, I think Julius Randle was like 23, 24 at the time of his free agency. 23, 24 years old, a double-double. A double-double guy who could bring the ball. Y'all know how he plays, so I don't need to break down his actual game. This is why I said about the Lakers. It would have been hard getting rid of Jordan. Even if you want to clear cap space, you should have brought him back. You should have brought him back that year. Don't let him walk from no free agency. See, they so much worried about their cap space. Julius Randle is not like a player you have to attach a draft pick with. He would have played with LeBron, him at the 2, and him running the floor with LeBron. He was going to put up some good numbers. He ain't had to be great, but he was going to put up some good numbers. If he put up 15-10, let's say if he put up 15-10 and 3 or 4 assists, because we know he could pass. 15, 3 or 4 assists, 50% from the field, right? At 23 years old, you think the Lakers couldn't got a good player in return, or even got a pick. Let's say they're trying to hold their cap space. They could have easily got a good pick for that. A 23-year-old, you know, that's what I'm saying. They let him walk for nothing. So like I said, Lakers made a lot of more bonehead decisions. And even another thing, you're not a championship team. You had a pogo stick, a guy. Then we talked about this. We had projects, we had raw, and we had talent. Now, Mitchell Robinson was elite shot blocker, super quick running up and down the floor, athletic as hell. He raw, but his rawness upside was incredible. Then he didn't even play his college ball that year. So you look at an NBA, you know he's going to rebound. You know he's going to be like at least a Tyson Chandler. He's going to rebound. He's going to block shots. If he ain't going to do nothing else, and he's going to catch lobs and dunk all over you. Run the floor and dunk all over you. Those things you knew. Forget if he ever learned to shoot a jump shot. Forget if he ever learned to shoot, with post-up moves. You knew exactly what that was right there. But you picked Mo Wagner. You're not a playoff. This is why I said you have to know your personnel. You're not a playoff team. Okay, you got LeBron. Even you is a playoff team. But your goal was, y'all was looking past that year, even LeBron. LeBron, when you look at LeBron that year, LeBron wasn't even fully invested that year when he first came to the Lakers. He wasn't fully, you could see his body language, even from the start. You watched that first game when the Lakers played Portland, he was body language, which wasn't even into it. He wasn't. He was real passive. He wasn't aggressive. Even at the second game when we played the Houston, that's the day when Brandon Ingram and Rondo got into it with Chris Paul. He wasn't into it that year with the Lakers. So, you know LeBron only want to compete when he has a stacked team. There was no reason why you got Mo Wagner. Not like Mo Wagner was going to be on the court with LeBron. So, that's the thing. You know he wasn't even going to get no minutes. All the players the Lakers had at the time that was going to play ahead of him. So, that was stupid. Instead of you picking the guy with the tremendous upside. That was a bonehead decision. You saw a guy misrep. You didn't even know he didn't play high school. If he'd have played college ball, you know he'd have been a lottery pick. He didn't even play touch. Imagine he played, you know what he'd have been. He'd have been an easy lotto pick. That's why I said the Lakers, they made real bad decisions. DGMs is making bad decisions. And time and time again, I know I made this video super long, but I hope that you guys watch it. I think it was interesting, and I think that you guys could gain a lot from it and see the mistakes these GMs make time and time again. They get millions of dollars, and they cost them franchise. Because I know if I was running the Lakers right now would have been super duper powerhouse. They would have been, a dynasty. And if I was running Philadelphia, they would have been a dynasty. They both, Lakers and Philadelphia right now, should be the top, not even close. The top two teams there is, because they good now, but they dropped the ball on a lot of high level end players and didn't get anything in return for them. It was an obvious stupid draft by picking Wagner over Mitchell Robinson. They got nothing for D'Angelo Russell. Got nothing for Julius Randle. And we know the Sixers got nothing for Markelle Fultz, who was the number one pick. And they got rid of him at 20 years old. We know Philadelphia got nothing for Nerlens Noel. We know Philadelphia got nothing for Okafor. We know Philadelphia got nothing for guys like Rashad Holmes, Jeremy Grant. We all know that stupid trade was Isaiah Smith over Mikhail Bridges. So they made a lot of bonehead decisions where their team could have been super deep. and talented. They would have assets up the ass. And there's no disrespect to Josh Hart when I say the Lakers got nothing in return. And I'm gonna break that down for somebody come in this comment and say, "Oh, it's like Russell for Kyle Kuzma." I've been breaking that down. The Lakers already had the first round pick before they even made that trade for Russell. That gave them 2 first round picks. So I don't want to hear people say, "Oh, it was like Russell for Kuzma." No, it was more like Russell for Josh Hart. Because before people go in the comment section and say anything, so that's what that was. So like I said, trade deadline Thursday. We're gonna see what's gonna happen. I appreciate you guys. I need y'all to watch this video. Hit the like button. Hit the like button, man. Hit the like button. Peace. Subscribe.